pastor of this congregation. Unitarian Universalism is a living, open-minded, and liberal religious community that encourages you to seek your own spiritual path, wherever it leads. Born of the Jewish and Christian traditions, we believe that personal experience, conscience, and reason should be the final authorities in religion. In the end, religious authority lies not in a book, a person, or an institution, but in ourselves. I would especially like to welcome all visitors here this morning and invite you to come again. We don't want to embarrass you, but only if you feel comfortable, please rise and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Daniel. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I went to a UU church when I was a teenager and did the coming of age ceremony, and then I haven't continued going. I stopped back once at my church and went to a service, but it was pretty different from what it had been. I've been traveling in the U.S. for about 4 years, I guess now. And I traveled down into Oklahoma City prior to the election, and then down into Albuquerque and up into Santa Fe, and then up to here. So glad to be here. I haven't been to a church service of any sort for quite a while, even though I'd wanted to try and attend one or other service while I was traveling in the U.S. So glad I'm able to do that now.
Welcome, fellow Pennsylvanian, only I'm from Philly.
We forgive you.
Eagles, not the Steelers.
Steelers and the Eagles.
The Eagles, yeah, right. Okay. If anyone here is not on our email list and would like to be, please sign the clipboard on the table. That way we can keep you informed by email about our congregation and related activities that you might find of interest. You can also find information there on Unitarian beliefs and principles. For those of you who attend our services and circles and are not yet members of the congregation, our book is always open for you to sign and become a voting member. If you would like to do so, please see one of the board members after the service, and we will be happy to discuss with you what it means to become a member and assist you in signing the book. Board members can be identified by our green name tags. Our minister today is the Reverend Diana Davies. Our wonderful pianist is Martha Grossman, and our tech team consists of Joe Mazza and Rachel Cohen. The circle topic next week is an open one where we have an opportunity to share whatever is on our minds. Our next service will be on January 5th, when Donna Collins will lead us in a burning bowl ritual. There will be no Fifth Sunday programming on December 29th. Our flowers today were provided by Gail. Where is Gail?
On our way to Santa Fe to pick up her stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's a very lovely arrangement. If you'd like to provide flowers for our service, there's a sign-up sheet on the table. We have several announcements today. The Taos Community Chorus will be singing their final Christmas concert of the season this afternoon at 3 o'clock. It will be held at the Presbyterian Church on Paseo next to the park. Betty, there will be tickets available on the door, and Betty has some free ones. If you go, you will see some friendly Unitarian faces in the choir. There's a women's lunch on Tuesday at noon, and if you care to, you need to really let Emily know if you want to go because they set up the tables ahead of time. And there's a blood drive all week. If you're interested in giving blood, please see Betty Myerson, and she will give you the information. On Saturday, December 21st, from 5 to 6 o'clock, at the Taos Plaza, there will be the longest night service. On the night of the winter solstice, the Taos community gathers to remember the unhoused people and others who died within the past year. Sponsored by the Enchanted Circle Interfaith Gathering, our Diana will be leading this beautiful short service of prayers, candles, and music. The Threshold Choir, featuring several of our UCOT members, will perform. Join us to light candles and stand in solidarity with and care for the most marginalized members of our community. Following the service, there will be a light supper at the Presbyterian Church. And on Sunday, December 29th, from 5:30 to 7 o'clock at St. James will be the 23rd annual Peace Hanukkah. It's a beautiful ceremony of candles, music, and inspiring words from 8 different faith leaders, including our Diana. She has really gotten involved in interfaith things. Yeah, it's a wonder. Betty and I have been part of the interfaith, and Diana came in, and it was just breath of fresh air. Thank you so much. All are welcome. There's no charge. Bring a menorah or candle and non-perishable food for our hungry neighbors. This will be live streamed if you cannot come in person. Rachel will be sending out a link when we get to it. If you receive an email or text that seems to be from Emily with a signature that includes yours in Christ and asking you for a favor, usually a request to respond discreetly, please check the sending address and phone number, unless the email is from Emily Gillespie at hotmail.com, where the text is from 972-571-8029. The message is not from Emily. If you're unsure, instead of responding directly, please contact Emily at the email or phone number I just mentioned and let her know that you've received a suspicious message from the president. After alerting Emily, you can report the scam to the FTC here at reportfraud@ftc.gov. Most importantly, do not respond to the scammer. And to the congregation, remember the plaid box. Your charitable giving committee provides food on a daily basis to the little free pantry that is by the nest. They absorbed the men who were still staying at the men's shelter when it closed December 1st. So we need robust support. Foods need to be ready to eat or needing only a brief time in the microwave. Please remember that in this holiday time, it is a privilege to reach out to those in need. One item we leave every day is a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a jar of jelly or jam. They share this for their next day's lunch. We encourage you to be creative and generous. Thank you. One more notice, Mary Schaffer, host of game night, is out of town, so there will be no game night in December. And now let's settle in and listen to Martha's prelude and get ready for our service.
Welcome. In your courage, in your fear, in your joy, and in your heartbreak, in your exhaustion and your energy, and all that you are, all you have been, and all you are becoming, you are welcome here. On the Christian liturgical calendar, the third Sunday of Advent, this Sunday, is a day for rejoicing. May we find joy in this day and in being together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for the lighting of our chalice, and the words are in your order of service. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we see. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And remaining as you are, I invite you to join us in singing our hymn, number 241, In the Bleak Midwinter. We will sing just verses 1 and 3.
And that is the sharing of joys and concerns, joys and sorrows, the joys that make our hearts sing and the sorrows that make our hearts cry. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like to share, please come forward and take a stone and share your joy or sorrow, and then place the stone in the water. Take a stone.
Good morning. Michael apologizes that he's not here. He has some cold symptoms and thought it best to stay home. I would like to let you know that our Labrador retriever named Tanner, who was 13 years old, died a few weeks ago. And And I am very sad about it, but Michael is just heartbroken. And the reason, I think, is because for 3 years, he tested that dog's blood sugar and gave him 2 insulin shots a day. And there was just a kind of an intimacy between he and that non-human that I've never watched before. So for Tanner. On November 23rd, Michael and I celebrated our 25th anniversary in Mexico City, and it was delightful. And this morning, shortly after midnight, Michael became a great-grandfather. He has a new great-granddaughter whose name is Pepper. And he said, you know, that is so wonderful. He said that what I just can't get my head around is that my daughter is a grandmother. We're delighted.
When I moved here 10 years ago, I moved to be near a friend that I'd known since junior high, and she passed last weekend. So it was really sad.
Morning all. Oh, geez. Sorry. I should have known. I have a projecting voice. Yeah. This is the season of birthdays in our neck of the woods, our little house. I was lucky enough to go to Austin, Texas to celebrate my 30th, the 30th birthday of my eldest son, Gordon, and did karaoke for the first time in my life. It was also my youngest son's Thomas' birthday yesterday, and today is our 10-year birthday for our beloved Greyhound brand. So a lot of birthday joy in our house.
I have an announcement. One of our members just became a grandfather for the first time, sitting there in the backyard, the back row. His son and wife had a baby boy on Friday, and his name is Oliver. Yes. And so he's been working on a blanket for years. And I put an edging around it, and I just finished it in time. So perfect timing. Oh, the hat. Yes, at Holy Cross, they get hats that are handmade by people in the community. And he happened to get a hat that was made by me. So this is for Oliver. I choose this stone for the unspoken joys and sorrows that are here among us today.
This reading is by Jan Richardson, and it's called Blessing for the Longest Night. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touch, by the pull of the moon, even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you this blessing will reach you, even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by your release of the breath you have held so long, a loosening of the clenching of your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that had drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knowing the resting spots along the path, knows what it means to travel in the company of a friend. So when this blessing comes, take its hand, get up, set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn. Would you please join me in a spirit of meditation? And this is a guided meditation, and I know that guided meditations don't work for everyone. So if you are one of those people for whom this is not your thing, I invite you to just take a lead from all the plants and animals outside and just use this time to rest. And if you feel comfortable, I invite you to join me in taking a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. Scooch around if you need to. Let your shoulders relax. You might close your eyes or you might keep them softly open, whatever's more comfortable. And I invite everyone to take a deep breath if you can and let it go. Maybe one more. And again, you might take this moment just to relax, or I invite you to imagine that you are out in a great open space, somewhere here in New Mexico, on a dark, cold night. And although it is very cold, you are warm. And you know you're safe. I invite you to bring your awareness to the earth itself, to the ground, under your feet. And you might just notice how solid that earth is. The top part of it frozen, still, fully supporting you. And yet, if you bring your awareness below the surface of the ground, go a little deeper, until you get to a place where the temperature moderates. And you start to notice that in the stillness, there is still life. In this darkest of dark places, if you really pay attention, you might even notice tiny, tiny little sparks of light that are the sleeping trees and plants communicating with each other. While up above, all is still and seems asleep or even dead, down below there is still life, there is still light. And I invite you to bring your awareness back up, out from underground, up to the surface. And you might imagine that now you turn your head to look up toward the sky. And again, it's a dark, dark, moonless night. But you can see that there are still stars. And you know that some of that light is coming from stars long dead. And yet their light still reaches us. And here you are in a network of the sleeping and awake, the living and the dead, the dark and the light, all connected, all holding you in love and in peace and in perfect wholeness. Whenever you're ready, no rush. I invite you to notice your breath again. Notice the light behind your eyelids if they're closed. Maybe allow your eyes to flutter open or to bring your awareness back into the room and the people around you. Take one more deep breath and let it go. In a land of rolling hills and a place now known as County Meath, Ireland, there is a huge mound that emerges out of the earth, known in English as Newgrange. Newgrange is a prehistoric monument built about 5,000 years ago, making it about 1,000 years older than Stonehenge and about 400 years older than the Egyptian pyramids. Now, some of the stones that make up the monument come from over 50 miles away. The mound itself contains about 200,000 tons of earth and stone. All of this would have been designed and built in a time that predated metal tools. It must have taken many years and a massive amount of labor to complete. You enter the mound through a long east-facing passageway. There's a slight rise as you go deeper in, so that as you reach the inner chamber, the outside light is cut off, and you're bathed in near total darkness. And no one knows exactly what the site was used for, but it's clear it was a deeply sacred site for the people who built and first used it. It would have been especially sacred at one time of the year, the winter solstice, because on that day, and a few days on either side, the rising sun shines through a specially designed roof box. An array of light moves along the long passage until it finally illuminates the inner recesses that are completely dark at all other times. The sunshine remains for about 17 minutes, and then the darkness returns. Because the tilt of the Earth's axis is slightly different than it was 5,000 years ago, today the first light enters about 4 minutes after sunrise on the winter solstice. But when Newgrange was built, the light would have entered exactly at sunrise. 5,000 years ago, the longest night of the year would have been even longer than it is today. And yet, the ancient people who designed the Great Mound and constructed it weren't content to climb a hill to catch the earliest rays of the returning midwinter sun. Instead of simply waiting for the light to return, they intentionally went into even deeper darkness underground, where there would be no ambient light of moon or stars. Why would they have done such a thing at such great expense? No one knows. Maybe it was simply a way of telling time so that they could begin planning for the days when animals would give birth and the plants would emerge from the earth again. But why create such a massive structure for such a relatively simple purpose? Maybe by creating such a mechanism to, in effect, capture the sun, they were expressing an ancient human need to feel that they had some agency in the face of a great, mysterious, and overwhelming natural world in which humans seemed impossibly small and powerless. Or maybe it wasn't just the light that they honored and worshiped, but the darkness too. Maybe they understood that to truly know the light, you first need to be buried in the deepest darkness. In the words of UU minister Richard Gilbert, quote, "There is mystery in the dark to be probed. There is the adventure of that which cannot be known, cannot be seen, can only be experienced in the soul. There is deepness in the dark, impenetrable and inviting. In the darkness, we rest our bodies and our souls. We escape that which distracts and confuses. We come face to face with ourselves. We come into the deep places of our being." Unquote. Well, certainly the desire to go underground, to go into pure darkness, is an ancient desire. In his book, Underland, A Deep Time Journey, naturalist author Robert McFarlane provides multiple examples of the human fascination with the darkness of the underground. And he postulates about why it is that we are so drawn to the world under our feet time and time again. He writes, quote, "The same three tasks recur across cultures and epochs: to shelter what is precious, to yield what is valuable, and to dispose of what is harmful." Shelter, memories, precious matter, messages, fragile lives. Yield, information, wealth, metaphors, minerals, visions. Dispose, waste, trauma, poison, secrets. Into the underland, we have long placed that which we fear and wish to lose, and that which we love and wish to save. Unquote. So it's under the earth, under soil, under rocks, where seeds go to wait for the heat of spring, where trees send their energy in the heart of winter, where animals go to hibernate or burrow into their warm dens, and where humans go to bury both our toxic waste and our cherished dead, to seek oil that will enrich and kill us, and to leave time capsules full of cherished memories, great wisdom, and ugly secrets for unknown descendants. Metaphorically, we go underground into the deepest, darkest parts of our minds and spirits to commune with, and sometimes to exorcise the ghosts and the demons that haunt us, to uncover lost memories, to visit with our dead, to grapple with conflicting truths about ourselves, to rest and be quiet so that we can heal and so that we can still hear that still, soft whisper that reminds us that we are loved and lovable and that we have always been and will always be enough. Maybe the ancient ones who built Newgrange understood this in their own way, knowing at some instinctive level that then when they went deep into the dark earth to meet the returning light, they were enacting their own spiritual journey of covering and discovering descent and redemption. But we don't need to go underground to find true darkness. There are other ways to go into the dark to meet the light. It's no coincidence that the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah occurs in the winter, around the time of the winter solstice. As the story goes, in the 2nd century BCE, the Syrian Greek king Antiochus IV prohibited the practice of Jewish law in Judea, and his followers violated the temple by setting up statues of pagan gods. A small Jewish resistance force led by the Maccabees defeated the foreign army, and they needed to re-sanctify the temple to the worship of the God of Israel. So Judah the Maccabee could only find a small amount of oil, which he used to light the eternal flame in the temple. And although it was only enough oil for one day, it is said that the flame miraculously burned for 8 days and nights. The rededication was said to happen on the 25th day of Kislev, or Kislev, the 9th month of the Jewish religious year. To this day, on the 25th of Kislev, the event is remembered in Hanukkah, which means dedication in Hebrew. In the Jewish liturgical calendar, Hanukkah is only a minor holiday, but as many rabbis and Hebrew scholars have pointed out, there's more going on in Hanukkah than meets the eye. Because, okay, this is where I get really nerdy on you, but bear with me. Because the Jewish calendar is lunisolar, which is partly based in the phases of the moon and partly based on the Earth's rotation around the sun, Kislev always falls in the late autumn or early winter. If the Jewish calendar was truly lunar, Hanukkah would move all over the place like Ramadan does for Muslims. Instead, occur in the same seasons, the Jewish calendar incorporates a leap month every few years. So we know that the winter solstice is the time when our part of the earth is tilted furthest away from the sun, making for the shortest day and the longest night of the year. But sometimes, albeit rarely, the night of the solstice is greeted by a full, bright moon. That last happened, I think, in 2018. The light of the full moon can take away from the sense of waiting in darkness for the return of the sun. Under a full moon, there's already enough light to see. But Hanukkah isn't just tied to the month of Kislev, to the time of the winter solstice. It occurs on the 25th of that month. And by the so Jewish months always begin with the new moon. The full moon comes in the middle of the month. So by the 25th, the moon has waned to the point where there is virtually no moonlight at all. So by setting Hanukkah in Kislev, the Jews made sure that the night would be long. And by setting it on the 25th, they made sure the night would be dark. In other words, the beginning of Hanukkah is intentionally set in the darkest of times. And in that darkness, people begin to light candles. They light candles for 8 nights, which is a significant amount of time, because by the time the final candle is lit, the light has begun to return. So Hanukkah moves through the maximal darkness and arrives at a waxing moon and longer days. As strange as it may seem, there is an important connection between the winter solstice, as it was celebrated by Stone Age farmers 5,000 years ago in Ireland, and Hanukkah, as it is celebrated by Jewish people today. Both are examples of people celebrating the return of light by first seeking the deepest darkness possible. There is a great wisdom here that transcends religions, cultures, or time. May we embrace this truth as well, that it is in the deepest darkness that we meet our deepest selves, that we meet the mystery of being, and that paradoxically, we meet light. The light that we create and the light we already are. The light that we coax from the heavens and the light that comes to us through no doing of our own, simply through grace. No matter how deep we go, no matter how dark things become, there is always light.
Now that really hit me. Now we share in the workings of this church by contributing to it. We will now take the morning offering. Honor your gifts and thank you for giving them. We'll now sing hymn number 235, Deck the Halls. Please rise if you are able.
Please be seated. Our closing words come from you minister, Reverend Victoria Safford. It's called The Moment of Magic. Now is the moment of magic, when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun. And here's a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter soon, even before the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic, when people beaten down and broken with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here's a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the Kinara, and the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic, when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal. And here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby, born at midnight, born in poverty. And the baby's cry, like bells ringing, makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic. And here's a blessing. We already possess all the gifts we need. We've already received our presents, ears to hear music, eyes to behold light, hands to build true peace on earth, and to hold each other tight in love. Would you please join me in saying the words as we extinguish our chalice? The words are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Martha will play us out, and as she plays, I invite everyone, as you can, to remain seated and just let this morning soak in. In the meantime, I leave you with this benediction. In this season of sound and light, may you find peace within the quiet darkness. May the nurturing darkness hold you and keep you safe. May you rest within the darkness so that you can truly know the beautiful light that already and that always shines within you. May it be so.
Bye.